If your concealer is making you look more tired, textured, and aged, it's probably not even your skin. It's probably your concealer application. These are the mistakes that are aging your skin and exactly how to fix them. I'm going to be showing you the right way to apply your makeup to ensure that nothing ages you. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Nina and I'm a professional makeup artist and a beauty educator. In today's video, we're diving into something that I feel like is a topic that everyone needs to hear because it's something that's aging people, and sometimes people get confused and they're not sure as to what it is. And I want to go through all of that today. We're going to be talking about the concealer mistakes that age you, and I'm going to be showing you the right way to be applying your makeup. If we're going to keep it real, if you are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or even beyond, concealer can actually either be your best friend or your worst enemy. And you don't want it to be your worst enemy because it really does age you. This is a full breakdown of what not to do, what we do instead, and how to brighten, lift, and conceal all at the same time. If you're new here, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button because those three little things really do help my channel out, and it means that you don't miss any future videos. And if you want in-depth beauty education that goes beyond what you see on YouTube, then head on over to my beauty community that is growing rapidly, the Beauty Breakfast Club, and it's also actually a magazine, so you get to just see so much content on there, new products, reviews, tips and tricks, so much on there. You've got so much to catch up on. So head on over there and subscribe. The link's in the description, or just type in thebeautybreakfastclub.com. The first thing I want to do is prep my skin. My skin is extremely dry at the moment. I don't really know why it's so dry, but it is very dry. It's kind of surprising me a little bit at the moment. So I really want to hydrate this. I'm going to be using my Drunk Elephant B Hydrate Intensive Hydration Serum because when I've used this in the past, when I've had dry skin, it really has helped. So I just want to put this on. And by the way, this is also another common thing with aging skin in general, is like the dryness that you deal with. And sometimes it isn't continuous, sometimes it's just randomly, like out of the blue, like me at the moment. So I've just pressed that in. I'm going to let that settle down, and in the meantime I'm going to put my eye cream on. So I really want to make sure that my skin is prepped in the right way first, and then we're going to head in and just focus on the concealer. So I'm putting my MAC Hyper Real Serumizer eye treatment all over. Even my eye area is feeling dry. What is going on? I mean, I guess this is a really good kind of base for me to work on for this video for you, so you can really see, because you know, currently I would probably even say to myself, okay, it's my skin that's making me look older at the moment. So it's actually really good for me to be able to show you this. I am going to now move on because I've let this settle down into the skin, and my skin is just like, oh, it's literally just, it's like it's just soaked up all of this hydration. It's just like it's drank a glass of water. I'm using my Dalba UV Essence Waterfall SPF, and I'm going to now put this all over. We're going to let that settle down, and we don't want it to look so kind of shiny. We want it to feel like your skin has kind of soaked it all up. So we're just going to let that deal with that at the moment. Let me talk through the mistake that people make when they first apply concealer. Something that I still see people doing, and I really wish they would ditch it because it's something that you used to see on YouTube like 10 years ago, which I wasn't even on YouTube like 10 years ago, I don't think. So like, that's like a long time. And some people are still doing it. But basically what they are doing is covering the entire under eye area with like that triangle shape of the concealer, which is really too heavy, too much product there. And it's actually making everything look a bit too white and bright. And it's all good brightening certain areas up. We all want that little bit of brightness, right? But the problem is this is just enhancing a lot of the issues that we've probably got underneath. And honestly, even if your skin is quite dry and you do have some like fine lines and wrinkles, you can still disguise it, and there's very, very clever strategic ways to lift and just kind of give the illusion of it being a lot smoother and lifted. But it can also work against you if you don't apply the concealer in the correct way. So I just want to add my moisturizer because I can feel that this is settled down. So I'm using my Calm Keto Cream, which was my current moisturizer that is not full of any nasties. It's a Korean brand. and I really do love it. I want to apply a primer. I'm going to let this settle down while I'm just telling you exactly why I'm using this one. But I know that a lot of people would say, right, okay, use a smoothing primer. You want something that's going to smooth and blur, which is great. It can work if your skin is kind of not too much on the dry side, right? But the problem is my skin is feeling quite dry and tight today, and I need something hydrating. So I want to keep really like kind of quenching my skin's thirst. So I'm going to use something which is going to hydrate at the same time as really gripping hold of the makeup. So I'm going to be using my Milk Hydro Grip Primer. So I'm going to put some of this on my hand, and this is settled down. My skin is just drinking it up today. Okay, so let's smooth this over. There you go. There you go. Quick smooth over and that's it. It's like you don't need to really kind of press it in. I think the easiest way for me to describe this mistake that I was talking about so much concealer on the under eye, is the more concealer you add, the more texture you're going to see. And I know it sounds like bizarre, and it's like, well, actually, am I not covering it? But actually, it ends up enhancing texture. Like, not necessarily the minute texture, like the small, very detailed texture, but more so the bigger kind of the larger surface area texture. So what we're gonna do is be very strategic. I've got this hair on my face, that was weird. We're gonna be very strategic about our application. Wow, I'm just all over the place. Even my top is like just all like, it's like I haven't got dressed properly. I just literally came and sat down here very quickly, but I didn't. So, okay, now I know that a lot of people tend to struggle with concealer. Now, if this video is for you, in terms of like your concealer is maybe making you look a lot older and you feel like it just doesn't usually look right, there's something a bit off and it's not really doing what it should be, what you're hoping for it to do for you, then what I really want you to do is, before you go in with your concealer, I want you to apply your base. So like, whether that is a tinted moisturizer, a skin tint, or a foundation. You choose out of those three which ones you are happy with using. What I will say is, don't choose one of those three based on how much coverage you want, because the coverage is going to come from the concealer. This is just going to give you that nice uniform veil over your skin. So figure out what it is. If you have a lot of pigmentation you're dealing with, it might be that you go for a foundation, right? Because you know that the concealer just isn't going to cut it. So maybe you want to go for a concealer which isn't so heavy, in which case you want a foundation which kind of gives it a bit of a helping hand, right? That's fine. But if you are going for a concealer which generally tends to do the job, then you don't need to go with a full coverage foundation. You could end up using a tinted moisturizer or a skin tint. Now, the thing is, when you have dry skin or your skin is aging, texture is a lot more obvious. Now, my skin, for some weird reason, is overly dry right now. I think it's feeling a little irritated at the moment. I'm not too sure why. But because of the dryness, I can see texture more on my skin, even from here, and the mirror is quite far. So I feel like I need to just be careful with that, because too much concealer can end up enhancing that, like I said. Now, what I'm going to do is use a foundation, and it's just generally because I really love this foundation. This is my MAC Studio Radiant Serum Powered Foundation in NC38. Now I'm going to put this on the back of my hand, and I've got my BK Beauty 106 brush. You get a discount with this, by the way. Like anything you get from BK Beauty, you'll get discount with my code. Use the code NINA10. They're some of my favorite brushes ever. So we're going to go into this foundation, and now we're going to slowly buff it all over the skin. Now, the reason I'm saying to use your foundation or your skin tint or tinted moisturizer before you go in with your concealer is because it's going to actually stop you from using so much concealer. The problem that we make, and it's subconsciously we don't realize, is we go straight in with concealer and you're using so much because you're actually trying to cover up so much all at the same time. Whereas if you use your foundation, skin tint, or tinted moisturizer first, you're left with whatever actually does genuinely need covering up and concealing. And that way you're actually using less concealer. So we're going to just apply this all over. So I actually, for another reason I do want to use this foundation today, it's not so much the coverage, it's because it does have a lot of skincare in here, and I feel like, I just need that added hydration today. So I would recommend using something which is going to continue to kind of like deliver some goodness to your skin like throughout the day. So each time just go back into a little bit of foundation You don't need a lot. Don't focus on trying to cover, by the way. Just focus on creating like a thin veil all over your skin. So that it's even all the way across. We're just pressing it on. Now, had I have gone in with my concealer first, I can guarantee you I would have put on way more concealer than I needed. See, now I feel like it's given me this even finish to my skin and I don't have to go so crazy with my concealer. Okay, so the concealer that I'm going to use is my Tarte Shape Tape. I love this concealer. It's one of my favorites. My shade is 35N Medium. And I'm actually going to go onto the back of my hand and I'm going to get my sponge, which is here. It's a damp sponge. Now I'm just going to press into this concealer. I'm going to get my eyelids out of the way and do that first. And I really want to buff this concealer into the sponge first. And then just buff over the eyelid. And all this is doing is just making it nice and even for me. So now I've got my powder puff, which is my Makeup by Mario powder puff. I'm just going to press on and then immediately dust it off. And now the eyelids are prepped and ready, so we don't even need to worry about that now. And look, even though we added the smallest amount of concealer by actually doing it on the back of our hand first and then buffing it in, like you don't need to go directly on the skin if that's something that you feel like, it could be that that's what's the issue for you, that you're adding too much, immediately from the wand. So now we're gonna deal with the under eye circles and anywhere else, because we wanna kind of lift, but we also wanna conceal and make sure everything looks smooth and doesn't enhance any texture. And another reason I think I want to stick with using my usual concealer, which is a Tarte Shape Tape, is because a lot of people are scared of it, but I just want to like show you that even though I'm using a concealer like this, I can still achieve a really nice like finish which isn't cakey, isn't over the top, isn't going to enhance any of my texture. So a couple of things I want to go through before we move on and apply the concealer on the under eyes and everywhere is that number one, you're going to apply your concealer gradually. I don't want you to go all in with a whole load of concealer, which is another mistake that we end up making. So the first one is the whole triangle thing, applying too much of it. The second thing is going in with too much concealer, even if you are being strategic with your placement, because you've just got too much that's moving around there and it's more likely to kind of crease up that way. So what my point is by applying the concealer to the back of your hand and then buffing it into the sponge before you buff it into the skin, it stops you from adding a whole, like slapping on the concealer, which then can actually end up enhancing your fine lines. It's a really good precautionary measure. So if you do that, it's gonna just cut so much like rubbish out for you, because if you are looking at your concealer and you're like, well, actually, I just don't know what it is, like I'm doing everything she's saying, and that's why I'm not applying it directly from the wand today, because I want to give you an alternative to really cut through all the mess and all the mistakes so that you apply things in the right way and you're left with a really nice finish without it looking over the top. And don't forget that once you apply a thin layer, let that settle a little bit and then go in with a bit more if you feel like you need more. That's like honestly the best alternative, rather than going all in and like slapping it on. Just layer it slowly, layer it on, let it settle, layer it again. And that way you're going to get a really good, even, flawless finish. You also want to make sure that you don't use a shade which is overly light for you or too dark for you. So if you're using a shade which is too light for you, that in itself can actually end up enhancing a lot of the texture and fine lines, because it's not the right color for you. So it's automatically going to stand out a little bit more, like any flaws are going to stand out more. It's just going to end up making you look a bit grayish around the area if you go too light with your concealer, especially if you're working with like brown or olive skin tones. If you are dealing with a lot of pigmentation or even a little bit of pigmentation and you have brown skin or olive skin tone, please, please, please avoid any pink toned concealers. They are not going to work for you. They're going to make it look so bad, worse than probably what it was before you even had any concealer on. So really avoid that. You want to go probably half a shade lighter, brighter than your skin tone, or maximum one shade lighter, brighter, but it really depends on the kind of brightness level that you want. But I'd say just a small amount. My personal preference is get a concealer that's the same color as your skin tone and get a shade which is one shade lighter, and you mix it accordingly each time. So what we're going to do now is add some more concealer to the back of the hand. I'm kind of swiping it. Can you see how I'm like spreading it out? I'm not just going like with a whole dollop there. Now I'm also going to mix in a little bit of my darker concealer, which is my Too Faced Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer in Sand. And what I'm doing, this is like more close to my skin color, and I'm just going over it a little bit like that. See, this is what I mean by mixing two shades together. So that way, that bright concealer isn't going to be overly bright for me. So now what I'm going to do is get my sponge. I'm going to spray this with a little bit of setting spray from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm going to go into the concealer, not all of it, just a little bit on the side, really buff it into the sponge. And now we're going to work along here. Now what I'm going to focus on is this inner corner here first. Right there. You don't need to go ahead and apply it everywhere, just apply it there first. Just that inner corner. Then we're going to take a little bit more and we're going to go up here. So the same place we would have had we have actually swiped it on with the wand, but we're just doing it with the sponge now. See how we've got that covered, and it's honestly the nicest, thinnest layer. It's not heavy and thick at all. And then we're just going to basically do the same thing, but all the way across. So we've kind of got our shape right, which is that inner dash and then the dash there. And then we're just kind of like bouncing all the way across to really get it all over. See that nice brightness that we've got there? It's not overly bright, but don't forget we haven't finished yet. Okay, now same thing on the other side. Inner corner first. So this is where we would usually do that first dash. Like honestly, this is going to last you all day. And you're applying such a thin layer that it really doesn't look heavy at all. And you'll feel so much better after for it, for not having to swipe on a whole load of concealer. So next what we're going to do is take what's on the sponge and just almost do a little lift here on the side. So I've got a little bit of leftover foundation on the back of my hand. I'm going to get my sponge, go into that, buff it in, and I'm literally just going to go over this area here. And this is just going to make sure it doesn't look so disconnected from everywhere else. There you go. Right, this is where we're going to set now. We're going to get rid of any creasing. There you go. Go into the powder. Okay, now we've set everything. We're just going to grab our brush and now quickly dust it all off. So I've just got a bigger brush, very lightly dusting it all off. You're not going to let it sit there because otherwise it can end up looking cakey. The first thing you're going to do, because everything's quite matte, is you're going to get your spray, get a hydrating spray or setting spray such as the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This is going to melt the powder into the skin so it doesn't look so matte. Now I'm just going to get rid of any product on my brows, just because it's all kind of built up. And I want my face to kind of settle down so that you guys can really see what this looks like. By the way, if you are loving this deep dive into like concealers, then head over to my other YouTube channel, which is NINAUBHIQM Beauty and Fashion Reviews. There's loads of casual fun videos on there, all about product reviews, like top concealers, top foundations, just quick run through of stuff. So I think you're gonna love it. Head on over there and subscribe too. I'd really appreciate it. And I know you're gonna love it. Okay, there is something that I wanted to try, which I've heard so much about, and so many of you guys have actually recommended this. This is the Got To Be brow gel. So I usually use the Urban Decay one, which I absolutely love, but this is actually cheaper. And I've run out of the Urban Decay one, so I thought, let me try this. So let's see how this sits. Let's just press this. I'm really hoping this doesn't leave like a white cast. Okay, pretty good. We'll have to see for the rest of the day. I am just going to curl my lashes. I just want to look half presentable, or just like finished at least. Just going to add some of my Dior Lip Maximizer. Just blot that. That just locks in the moisture for me. See, now I feel like my skin has settled down. Can you see how like it's definitely not powdery? It's just melted into my skin. We've got that really nice lift. It's smooth, it's not enhancing any texture, and it also doesn't look overly bright. And I haven't even added any other makeup. So I feel like I want to leave it like this just so that you guys can really see, because once you add your bronzer, blush and all that kind of stuff, it's obviously going to settle down more. But if it's looking this good before you've even applied all of that, then that means you're going in the right direction. So let's just do a little bit of a quick recap right now. This is your concealer game plan. You're going to make sure you prep your eyes well. Use a good eye cream, something which is hydrating for your eye area, targeted to your eye issue. If you have overly dry skin, you want to use a slightly more rich cream, but not overly rich. So I would always recommend something a bit balmy, like the Hyperreal that I used on my skin, the MAC one, or even the Drunk Elephant Ceramide AF eye cream is a good one too. Make sure it's an eye cream which is not going to give you any slip, right? Because you don't want that. You want it to settle down nice. And I don't mean go super dry, but not overly kind of all over the place. Then if you want to, if you need to, which I've done another video on this, use a color corrector. You can head on over to one of my other videos, which is previous, and that will explain to you about color correctors. So you may need a color corrector. Next is focusing on your concealer. So you're going to go for something which isn't overly light. Mix it if you need to mix it, but apply it on the back of your hand, buff it into the sponge before you buff it into your skin. That is going to be a game changer for you. You're going to tap it. So you're tapping the sponge, you're bouncing the sponge up and down over your skin. You're going to bounce it onto the inner corner first and then the outer corner upwards to give you the shape. And then you're going to go all the way across with whatever's left on the sponge. You're not going to keep going back and forth with more concealer. You're then going to set it with your powder. You don't have to use a puff like I did. You could just use the brush and press the powder in. So it's really down to what you think you need. I'm good with a powder puff, but it could be that you don't actually need a powder puff and just you want minimal, even less powder than that, in which case just use the brush and pat, stroke, press the setting powder into the under eye area. So that's more or less it, to be honest. Less is more, precision is everything. This is basically how you will allow all of these different things that I've gone through flatter your face rather than age your face. Don't forget, my videos are every Monday, Thursday and Sunday, so you are guaranteed something new each time. You don't want to miss the next video, so make sure you hit the bell button so that you don't miss it, and I'll see you on the next video.